see. Don't think we've been parked much further away. We're in N11, Zone C. So it's about the furthest we've ever been parked away. Actually ended up getting into the foyer, so we're getting there slowly. Get to a bit of gardening in a minute. That's the crowd getting in through the doors. This is the good food show end. We should be able to walk through the Gardeners Road in this direction. Red. More booze. And here we have it. Gardeners Road. Garden buildings. Sorry. Greenhouses. I reckon where those black curtains are over there must be the theatre. I don't know.
There we go. Can I get one for fucking Holy Communion? I'll go hit you.
A big empty space. Usually out of your house plants and things in here. Oh, it's Klein up on the screen. So along at the theatre, which we're doing there quite soon, there's Carol Klein doing probably what's her first steep today.
Yes, I am. I've got to have this. I'm liable eventually to actually die, but never. I'm not doing that for a long, long time. My garden, fortunately for me, is pretty established. But then on the other hand, when I'm thinking about pruning my great big Paul's Himalayan musk rose, which grows to about 40 feet or so, in the old days, my husband would pull the ladder and I'd climb up, but we might have to have a reversal of roles. But no, I've got just as much energy as ever I had.
I can vouch for that. We filmed together in May, and it is an incredible week, but it is grueling. It is really, really tiring, really early starts, late finishes, being outside. And Carol is there from first light to dusk, aren't you? And never stops, and it is that energy, absolute energy.
Well, we all do, don't we?
Yeah, but I'm not nearly turning 80 next year. That's the difference. Your energy is incredible, and your passion. I think that's what always comes through with Carol.
So this is the British Garden Centre stand. They usually got some very good acers at a very good price at British Garden Centres. These things, what's that one? £15. That's not bad at all, really. Fantastic display of acers.
We now grow our own plants in our nurseries and have a great relationship with
Hi, good to see you all. Fantastic. I hope you all had a good day and a good morning so far. Has anyone bought anything? I can see an agapanthus there. It's very, very impressive. I like the look of that. Hello, I'm Kevin. I'm the editor of Gardeners World magazine, and it's a real pleasure to welcome you to the show. I'm acutely aware, though, that you don't really want to hear me blabbering on. What you want to hear is some wisdom from the wonderful Carol Klein. So shall we give her a big Gardeners World Live welcome and bring her out? Carol, please come and join me on the stage. There she is. Pop your books there, pop them on there. Are you okay? You've been whizzing backwards and forwards, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm a bit dizzy, but apart from that, I'm fine.
Okay,
Where are we?
We are in the NEC Birmingham. I think there are a few plants knocking about, I think.
Yeah,
So,
I've seen quite a few.
we are going to spend the time we've got together talking about creating free plants. And really, propagation, cuttings, division, all of that brilliant stuff has been at the heart of your gardening life, hasn't it, forever? Why do you love it so much?
Well, it's free, and it's not because I'm stingy. It's that I just think it's lovely to help a seed or a cutting into life, because you don't make them, the plant makes them, but to sort of speed that process along. And then to actually put that plant, when it's grown up, it can face the big wide world, into the garden, and then possibly you've grown it from a seed, possibly later on you actually go along to that plant and take some more seeds from it and grow some more plants. That's why I love it. Don't you? Yeah? Yeah.
And on it goes. I mean, you can carry on going. You can share these things with friends.
Exactly.
All sorts of stuff, can't you?
It's the sharing part, I think, that's important. I don't know whether you saw the thing we did on Gardeners World with cuttings. You know, we're doing this strand that's plants for free. And I had a big pelargonium there, and I borrowed it from my friend Molly up the road. And she's not a farmer's wife, she's a farmer. And she's quite well into her 80s now, even older than me. And I knew that she grew pelargoniums. Well, I lost all mine in that frost, so I asked if I could borrow one. And I told the story of this and stressed exactly what you're saying, Kevin. It's all about passing things on, isn't it? It's not just for yourself that you grow things very often. You can swap, you know, or you can just give things left, right and centre. And do you know, they edited out the bit with Molly's name. Isn't that shocking?
So she never got her moment on the programme.
No, but she has on my Instagram. And I shall make sure that I go around there and thank her so much. But she's a very modest, diffident person, so it won't trouble her at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great growing plants for other people.
I'm interested to know who does take loads of cuttings, divides things. How much of
Nearly everybody here.
Well, there's a few people who aren't though, and why should everyone have a go? What, is there anything to lose, I guess is the question.
No, there's absolutely nothing to lose. I mean, the whole point is it's plants for free. Can I show everybody me?
Yeah,
the
go
book?
for it.
I wrote this book called Grow Your Own Garden, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. You know, it's all about, when we started off, we didn't have much dosh. And so I just started growing plants, and I'd seen my mum doing it. She used to stick in her rose prunings into the ground and they'd grow. And I think people get very worried about propagation. Will it work? You know, I've never taken a cutting. But the minute you take a successful cutting, and you see those little white roots coming out of the bottom of the pot, you know, or you've sown some seeds, and they germinate and they're all coming up one after another. It's thrilling, and it's just as thrilling when you've been doing it for several years as it is the very first time.
Yeah.
And it's good for you. It's also a brilliant idea because, especially when you grow things from seed, you know, how often do you think, whatever size your garden is, how often do you think, well, I brought this plant, I'll put it in here, but oh, I wish I had 7 or 11 of them and I can make a great big swathe. Well, you can if you grow your own. You can actually do that. It helps your sort of imagination and your creativity, and it allows you to do things on a bigger scale. And even in a tiny, tiny garden, it's still important to do things on a big scale, I think, don't you?
I certainly agree, yes. I mean, I was chatting to Tom Allen actually a little while ago, a friend of both of ours, hasn't he? And he's got an enormous, great big urn in the centre of his garden. And you're exactly right, on a very big scale, but in a not a very big garden. So yeah, I agree.
Exactly, except that he's now decided it looks a bit funereal.
Right, what I'd like to do is just run through the different ways that you can propagate plants. So, starting with division. What sort of plants can you divide, and when's it best to do it?
Well, you can divide, we're talking about perennials mainly. I mean, there are a few shrubs that you can divide, but we're not going into that. So this is the best way of propagating something that perhaps won't come true from seed, might not even set seed. The only sort of condition about that is that it has to be a plant that's got a base that you can actually pull apart. So there are 2 times that are best for division in my book anyway. I'm sure other people do it at different times, but it's common sense, because all propagation's common sense really, isn't it? So in the autumn, I'll divide anything that flowered early. In the spring, I'll divide things that flowered late, simply because if you're a rudbeckia or a Michaelmas daisy or, you know, anything that flowers late on into the autumn, then it means that you've expended all that energy, right? I am the plant, I've expended all this energy producing these flowers. So what I want is a bit of a rest before I get going again. So spring division is best then. And there's all sorts of different ways of dividing plants too. So there's the old, you know, back-to-back forks, where you stick one garden fork in. This always presupposes that you've got 2 forks, doesn't it? So this is something you have to do with a neighbour so you can lend each other. Stick them both in, back to back, and the whole idea is that you push the handles together and that starts to divide them. But I always find that I end up going like that and pulling them apart. Best thing to do is when they're dormant for a start. If you're doing autumn stuff, then if it was something that flowered really early, it's probably entering its dormancy anyway. But you're not giving the plant such a shock if you do it when it's half asleep. So in the spring, what did we divide? Because we did division for one of our programs, so we divided a rudbeckia, a perennial rudbeckia, and it comes up and spreads itself, it's got kind of lolloping stems, and it takes root off each of those. So we could actually lift up a chunk of it and then just pull it apart gently. We did a hemeroculus that we did with a fork to fork. Oh, and then we did a helenium. Have you ever, you know heleniums, these lovely things with sort of velvet doorknobs, they remind me of the centres, and lovely petals like a sort of colourful tutu, aren't they? But I find with heleniums, they do it themselves. So you dig up a lump, part into these separate rosettes. So you can either plant them out separately, you can pot them and then put them out later on, or to be really crafty, and we did this with some of our cuttings too, you can put several in a pot or several close together in the border, and eventually they'll look like one huge clump. So even in the first year after propagating them, you'll get a decent sized plant.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going on.
No, that's what we want you here for, Carol. It's quite all right. It's this wisdom. It's what we're all here for. How about saving seed? And what can you save seed from? And I'm interested in what you said earlier about things sometimes not coming true.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Does it matter?
Yeah, well, the thing about division is you're always going to get the same plant, because you're actually making a clone of that plant. You know, you're using the plant itself. But when you sow seed, you've got absolutely no control over what those seedlings are going to be. And no two seedlings are ever identical. They're not the same. It's like children, you know, because seeds are the children of plants. So they're always going to be a bit different. But in some ways that can be half the fun. And very often you can't, you know, most of them look like twins anyway, don't they? They're, but the lovely thing about growing from seed is that, A, it's easy, it's straightforward. When you think about it, it's nature's way of producing more plants. That's what she does,
Yeah.
you know. And every creature in the world, every creature, every plant, every being, every organism is just interested in the next generation. Well, we won't go into sex or anything like that at this stage.
Well, we could.
But,
it's a bit early though.
We could, it is. Yeah, too early for me. Don't tell anybody. But the whole point is that plant wants to keep going. It might not keep going itself, so it wants to have children. Those children will in their turn want to have children. And although you can buy seed, and I buy seed from all over the place, but one of the great joys of gardening, if you love propagating, is to go out and collect your own seed. So, when do you do that, Kevin?
Well, often towards the end of the summer.
Yeah.
September time, I'm guessing, is
Exactly.
when I would be doing it.
I've just collected hellebore seed from a couple of plants that we crossed, but they're the exception. You know, Aquilegias too will soon set seed, very closely related, both members of the buttercup family. But I love to collect seed later from things like astrantias. You know these gorgeous dark red astrantias? Have any of you got any of them? Yeah, yeah.
Lots of hands up.
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful, beautiful plants. And they're called Hattie's pincushion, that's their country name, because you get this circle of little bracts, and then in the middle are all these tiny flowers on minute stems. So the whole thing looks like the flower, but in actual fact it's all these little bits in the middle that are the flowers. They're related to cow parsley and carrots, and all that lot. And the bracts around the edge actually stand both to protect those little flowers while they're coming out and being pollinated, but also to collect the seed. And the seed will very often fall into that bract. And all you do, always do it on a dry day. Lots of those about, Kevin, aren't there? Dry sunny days.
It's been, Mikey, it's been wet, hasn't it? Crumbs. Anyway, let's move on.
Paper bags are the best thing, and a pen. And write on the outside of the bag before you collect the seed, because it's really difficult if it's full of seed. And you can either cut the whole stem and invert the seed head into it, or you can actually just shake it in from the plant. But you can collect seed from such a myriad of different things. Really, really so satisfying. The only thing is, keep them in a dry, cool place, out of direct sun. I'm afraid there's a photograph in this book of seed actually hanging up in my greenhouse window. And I think that was just for effect. That's not a good place. It gets too hot, doesn't it? So, cool. I mean, if you consider the conditions that, what's it called, the big seed centre that's related to Kew? Begins with a W. I'll remember it in a minute. Anyway, Wakehurst. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm no good at names, am I? I've got a saying, you know, because I'm always forgetting people's names. I've been calling him George all morning. I've got a saying, sorry, if you were a plant, I'd remember your name. That's about it. Yeah, but at Wakehurst and any seed bank like that, they refrigerate the seed, they keep it cool and they keep it dry above all else. And that way your seed will keep for ages. If you're sowing seed of actually anything in the buttercup family, so for instance my hellebore seeds that I've just collected, so aconites, delphiniums, larkspur even, any of that family, try and sow your seed fresh, because it very soon loses its potency and it just doesn't work.
So almost as soon as you've collected it?
Yes, yeah. And it's quite good to half and half it, to sow some straight away, if you're in doubt at all, and then to save some and sow it the next spring. And don't be impatient. I can remember sowing my first lot of Astrantia seed, and I put in the seed trays, and I sowed it quite fresh actually, because it belongs to Apiaceae, you know, the umbel family, and all the plants in that family love to be sown really pretty quickly. And I just, yeah, and that's the other thing. Yeah, sow your parsley sparsely. So always, you know, don't sow too many, don't get tempted, because sometimes in the seed packet you'll get thousands of seeds, literally. So make sure that they're all going to be able to grow on. Just sprinkle them across the top of the container. I use half seed trays. Anyway, I did this with Miss Trantia. Guess what I put on the top of them? Yes, grit. Yeah. In fact, the subtitle of my book, can I just show them?
Yeah, I was going to come on to this one. This is a special book.
This is a new book, but it's called Autobiography, and it says, a gritty woman's tale of people, plants and places. So I think most people who've seen me on the telly, I don't have shares in a grit quarry. It's honest, it's not true. So I sprinkle them with grit, I firm them down with this lovely little presser board that Neil made me out of a bit of plywood and half a broom handle, and it's been going for about 30 odd years. Push them down, water them from underneath, and people look at you and they say, how can you water it? Just stand it in chuck the washing up out of the bowl and just stand it in shallow water. And when you see the grit actually getting damp, take it out, let it drain, and then put it wherever it's going to go. In this case, I put it in my greenhouse. And did it germinate? No, it did not. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited. And in the end, in disgust, I put it outside. And it must have been about, by that time, it must have been about December. And of course, the frost had its way with these seeds. And when I'm walking past one day, and there are all these little seedlings coming up. So that's called vernalization, and some seeds really need that. But you can find out which seeds need it, or you can just experiment.
Well, I was going to say, and that's a good example of not giving up on something. You never know. Have a bit of patience and it might surprise you.
Exactly, and if at first you don't succeed, you know, sometimes people say, my rosemary hasn't rooted, or, well, have another go.
Yeah.
When we used to do Barnstable Market, when we first started out. And I found that I'd have to end up taking the cuttings 3 times, and only one of those times would it work. You know, with maybe a fortnight in between them, and only one batch, because you never knew which batch it was going to be.
So every time you had to do it 3 times?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's go on to cuttings then, actually, because we've got a couple of things that Joe, our lovely stage manager, has put on the bench for us, and these are things he reliably informed me that we could take cuttings from round about now. So we've got a penstemon and a rosemary.
Sorry.
It's right, there's some water there.
Sorry.
There's a lot that we can take cuttings from at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah, and again you're making clones of the plant. So you're taking the material from the plant, so it's going to be exactly the same. Some of these might actually set seed. Sometimes you can, but you know, then you wouldn't know what results you're going to get. I didn't bring my knife, Kev.
It's a little one there.
Let's have a go. Shall we do this penstemon? Because I think that's, first of all, pots. I love using, can you see me?
Yeah.
Sorry.
There we go.
Sorry. I'm very big, aren't I? Penstemons are a really great thing to take cuttings from. They're tender perennials. Some of them are completely hardy, but a lot of them are a bit dodgy. So it's always nice to have extra plants as an insurance policy. So, oh, I'm so sorry, I do beg your pardon. Do you know what I've got? This time, hay fever. Isn't that ironic?
You're in a great place for that as well.
Sorry. So, try and select a nice, strong, young shoot, and just take your knife. Can you see me all right? And I'm going to cut just above. Oh, this knife is blunt compared to mine.
Do you know, I've got a secret about that knife. It's mine.
Oh.
I'm probably not using it enough, am I?
I'm sorry, Kevin. No, it should be fine for pruning and stuff like that, but it's, sorry. I've got 2 knives that are called Tina, and I usually carry one of them around with me, but I thought I'd better not bring them. Anyway, you can use secateurs, certainly, but I'd always love to use a sharp knife. So I've cut that there because the bit that I've left behind, if I can find it, where is it? Where's it gone? Thank you. Can you see here? I've cut just above these leaf nodes. Why do you think? Why? Why don't you just get in there? Just to make sure that that doesn't rot. Because if you leave a big chunk of stem that's not going anywhere, it's much more liable to rot. Anyway, back to the business. So I'd then take my knife and cut right under a leaf node this time. And then I'd take off those bottom leaves. The reason you cut under a leaf node is because plants are funny things. They can't move around, but they do have this ability to change cells within the plant from one form to another. So here, concentrated here, are all these hormones, and at the moment they're stem cells, but once they take root, they will become root cells. So it's really simple and straightforward. And now I'm going to do a terrible thing, and I'm going to nip out the growing tip of this. Not everybody does that, but I think immediately, as soon as this plant starts to put on roots and begins to grow, instead of going up to the sky, because all plants, what's it called? Something beginning with A. But they've got this tendency to go up. But because I've nipped out the top of this, it's much more liable to become a really bushy plant. Now, I always have a chopstick, and I haven't got one. So I'm going to push this down into the side of here. Doesn't matter what you use, a bit of stick, one of those things you stir your tea with, anything. And I want you to be able to see this, can you?
Yeah.
I'm just pushing it down to the base of that leaf that I've taken off. And this is a lovely gritty mix, peat-free of course. If it was me doing it at home, I would fill these pots up right to the top because your compost sinks a bit anyway. And I hate to see, you see some experts doing the cuttings and they're halfway down the pot and you think, well, how can it possibly see the light? Because it needs that light. Right, so I do maybe 5 around here. So this plant won't harm from that because where I cut it there, it's just going to bush out from these lower nodes. And I might even pinch one of these, but if I did, it's got a flower bud in it. So I'd have to forego that flower, but I might get 2 or 3 cuttings from there. And it will have redeemed its, its proper shape just in a few weeks' time.
So if people are buying lots of plants,
Yes.
as we can see, people already are, what could they buy that they could take some cuttings from? So buy one plant, but end up with a few over the next few weeks.
Right, well it will take a few weeks, but anything that belongs to Lamiaceae. What's this plant here, Kev?
It's an agastache, I think.
Yeah, agastache. Yeah. I've just been looking at some of these this morning. Anything with a square stem, they all belong to one big family called Lamiaceae. So things like this agastache, which is not very prepossessing at the moment, although its leaves smell gorgeous. That's why you grow them, really. But eventually it will have a tall flower, a bit like a salvia, to which it's related. And an absolute is manna for bees and pollinating insects. So you could grow a plant like this, possibly from seed, and then take cuttings of it. Shall I take some?
Please do, yeah, you go for
sure?
it. Yeah.
Put them in the same pot as the pentstemon. So just the same thing, just above a leaf node. And this is going to be quite a short cutting. I haven't got my specs on. Oh, that was a good aim. Take those 2 bottom leaves off. Again, I'm still going to nip in the top. Now, as I was saying, anything that belongs to that family, so that's agastache, rosemary, lavender, all sorts of different salvias, and there is such, always for Birmingham, for this show, salvias are really just coming to their height,
aren't they?
They're looking terrific. But you can also, of course you can use this for all sorts of shrubs, and it's the usual way of propagating lots of shrubs. You probably do those a little bit later than this, and the wood will have started to harden up. But you can also do it from lots of perennial plants in your garden. We did it from asters one year, just took some of the little side shoots, and it works perfectly well. Because the thing is that plants want to grow.
Yeah.
Now, one word of warning, when you've done something like this, and especially when you're using such soft material as this, it's young and really green, always, either put a plastic bag over the top, which I never do, but I've got one of those little sprays that you use for your ironing, and every time we walk past, because you've removed this little cutting from its source of water and nutrient, its roots. So you've got to compensate and you've got to be mum and look after it until that happens. And the younger material is, and fresher, then the quicker it'll root, but the quicker it'll wilt too. So really make sure that you just spray that.
Now, I'm conscious of the time, but we probably... Oh, no, don't you be sorry, it's my fault. I should be keeping on track of things. We've probably got time for a couple of really quick questions. So before we do that, though, I know you've told us a little bit about autobiography, but could you tell us a bit more about it? When's it out? What's it about?
September the 5th.
Okay.
And you can pre-order it now. There's a link on my bio and on Penguin Random House books. And it's just about what's happened to me. Some of it. Not all of it.
Okay, good stuff. We need to look out for that.
But quite a lot of funny stories too.
I don't doubt it for a minute.
And big chunks every so often of writing that I've already done, including several pieces from Gardener's World magazine.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, they need to be super speedy questions, so I can see we're ready to go over there. Please, go for it.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Hello, where are you? Oh, are you?
Hello. Yeah, we've recently started getting some flowers off of a Himalayan blue poppy, and we're just wondering, because they're quite hard to get at garden centres, can we take seeds off them, and when can we do that?
Traditionally, that Mecanopsis, it's beautiful, isn't it? There's not a blue like it. Traditionally, they used to propagate most blue poppies by division. And then, now there's, because a lot of them were biennial anyway, so we had to get in there quick. But now it begins with B, and I can't remember it. If you write your details down afterwards, I'll send you the name of the seed. But you can now get seed, and those plants will go for about 3 or 4 years. You know, they're not monocarpic. Monocarpic just means dying as soon as you've set seed and accomplish your purpose. So yes, you can, but they are a very good case in point where they need to be vernalised. In other words, they need to have some cold. So, and again, the temptation with any kind of poppy seed, even rare stuff like that, is to sow it too thickly, because the seeds are so teeny tiny. So really, just sprinkle it. I always keep my hand about that far off a half seed tray, so you don't, if you're down here, you tend to sow them in clumps. Pour some grit on the top of it, naturally. Yeah, good. I hope you got it from my quarry. And sink your tray down. And the best time to do it, I think, would be in the autumn. And then shove them outside. Don't forget about them. Don't put them anywhere under the gutter where water's going to splash them about. But just somewhere in a sheltered spot. And then cross your fingers. And when you prick them out, just do it very gently.
Okay.
And it is, I mean, this whole thing of peat-free compost, once upon a time you would welcome the peat, wouldn't you, when you're sowing things like that, because it's an acid lover. All right.
Okay, we're probably super quick one. We're massively over, but we don't mind, do we?
No. I don't mind, it's only lunchtime.
I'm not sure where else you need to be. There's probably someone that is
I'm supposed
having
to
kittens, I
eat
imagine. Hello, hi.
Have you ever tried your own trials with a rooting enhancer, or have you just never used one?
No, I started off using rooting hormone, you know, because all the books said that's what you must do, but quite frankly, I didn't find it helped very much. And when you think about it, it was a botanist who explained this thing to me about plants being able to change their cells. And also talking about exactly where all those hormones are concentrated. The plants really got it in it.
So it doesn't depend on the type of compost that you're using. You just never use one and you get really
You
good
didn't
results.
say compost, you said rooting hormone.
Yes, but does it depend, if you're not using a rooting hormone,
Yeah.
do you get better results then from different compost, or have you found that doesn't make a difference either?
Well, I've not experimented very much because for years, because I ran a nursery, you know, for 30 years, and the things had to work. And we used to mix our own compost to a recipe that Richard Lee, who was the gardener at Rosemoor, gave me. So it was peat, it was John Innes, it was loads of grit, it was some actually Osmocote, some fertiliser, and it was lime, which I used to put in to kind of, not counteract the peat. I can't do that anymore. I'm still using some loam-based compost, but John Innes actually contains peat. So if you see John Innes compost peat-free, it's not John Innes, or it's not peat-free,
Yeah,
one or the
one
other.
of the two.
So I don't know, it's just worth experimenting. I've never done any formal trials. This year, we were just talking about compost before. This year, both seed and cuttings have taken much, much longer and not been as successful. And I think it's because I'm using peat-free compost and it's changed. And I know that's not just my experience.
We're all learning, aren't
it's
we?
not just me. Yeah, but compost is going to improve. It's bound to.
Okay, we are massively out of time. Carol, thank you. Just through the rosemary. Just such an inspiration. It's lovely to see you here on the stage looking so well. That's a real joy. And thank you for everything that you shared with us. You're just such a font of knowledge. It's a real pleasure to share the stage with you. Give Carol a round of applause. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're up to. Go and shop. Cheerio.
Bye.
Welcome to British Garden Centres, the largest family-owned garden centre group in the...
So we're heading for the floral marquee now. You don't want to be in it? No. You're in it.
No work for her.
Camera shy. Beautiful.
That looked really good for that picture, by the way. Yeah, I could see it as I was coming in. It's going to look good, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. Lovely day here. Alliums. And Sue there. Being interviewed.
The thing is, sorry.
Happy, Mama? Yep.
Now they've introduced look at this style. And just right for the lower levels of the wood because it only grows to about 50 centimetres high. But it's quite wide. And if I planted them and they stand about 30 centimetres apart, to allow them their full view. They'd be great for my level.
Oh yeah, you're
And the
there.
ladies going, oh, we don't want that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you get them in very hot climates going everywhere. Oh, the sweet peas. There's in that far corner there's a sweet peas stand. I don't know if you've been there. It's amazing.
This is a nice display. Look at that. Lovely display. Beautiful.
That's right.
Sorry.
And for the bonsai fans. We got more bonsais for bonsai lovers.
The azalea.
Sweet peas.
You don't know if something's supposed to look like. It should be like that.
It does, it's not nice. I can't what's the sense of smell.
Full stop. Till COVID, partly because I'm diabetic, partly because I haven't got dental work done.
Same as most of it's like that. I can usually smell. It's just I've got colds.
I tried to grow Prince Orange and it came out very well.
Well done.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for doing it. Yeah. Thank you for planting it up for us all to see.
We're looking forward to getting it back, aren't we? Stay all week. These stay here all, yeah, and then they're all not here. No.
Save our bees. I thought I might interview this character. He looks as if he's quite interesting.
Well, unless I put them in something. Put them in pots. I'm waiting to see.
You can follow the chains of silver. You can follow the chains of gold. You can follow dirty strangers and the promises they hold.
Oh, I know, yeah, it's 160 steady. You put it on in 170. Okay, well, so like a couple of boxes there.
The time's wrong.
Just said that to me.
And those just, you can, but those just, those are amazing. Spread wide, it's a ridiculous solution. Is it?
Face down. Unfortunately, they found out the hard way. And these are nice wooden things, if you like.
I'm making one of them with the old polygon top. You love that. I've got a game.
Michelle Rowe. It's gone wild. Well, I want to take one. I love that
Something that feels like a mix. Somebody else said.
round the side, I know.